After enduring a very long losing streak, the Arizona Coyotes finally get back in the winning column with a 4-3 win over the Detroit Red Wings. We're going to talk about that game on today's episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Robyn Leonio. That's Carl Pavlik right beside me. On today's episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast, I want to thank everyone for making the show your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including on YouTube. We got a great show for you guys on today's episode. Arizona has had a long losing streak just ended after a win over the Detroit Red Wings at home in a shootout. We're going to talk about that game. Carl, what does it feel to finally get back in the winning column after, what was it, a 9-game losing streak?
Yeah, it was a 9-game losing streak, which was very demoralizing, especially towards the end, where the Coyotes were playing like pretty okay hockey and still coming up short. Like it's nice to get that win. Like there'll be more losses, people watching the standings, but you need to get a win in every once in a while.
Yeah, because it goes in that way where you talk about, you look at the teams that they play, and I think here's the most important part. What I'm trying to get at is you need to win every now and then, but also those losing streaks are a reminder, Carl, of what this team actually is. Because the Coyotes had some pretty awesome wins beforehand, and it was like, hey, maybe this team isn't as bad as we thought.
Yes.
And then they go on this losing streak, losing to like pretty bad to some teams. I'm looking at, some of the teams they lost to, like losing to the Blackhawks and losing to the Sharks,
to
as
the
examples.
Senators, yeah, it was bad. And I think one of the things we talked about, like way back when the Coyotes were having like a 3-game win streak, was the fact that there was going to be like a corresponding losing streak later down the line, because they were maybe overplaying to start off, and they've crashed back to earth. Like for a while, they had one of the best power plays in the league. So. Yeah, I think we should have realized that this was not sustainable.
Oh, I think we were getting too confident because the team looked really confident out there. It was like, you know what? Maybe it's not that bad. And we're like, oh, right. No, that's right. It's a tanking season. Nah, I totally forgot about that. Even though we've been talking about it being a tanking season this entire time, we're like, tank hard for Bedard, fight for Fantilli, whatever, prospect you want to go for. And when they kept winning, we're just like, you know what? Maybe we don't need it, and they go losing again on this losing streak. It's like, oh yeah, that's right, we do.
Yeah, and it does seem like they definitely need more skilled players, because there are some major gaps. Like you need a player who's going to just be consistently generating offense, which they don't have right now. But there's still plenty of players who can like put it together for a couple games. Like they can make things interesting, which is what you want. And you want them to be doing good things during those losses, which I feel like towards the end, especially, like they like kept in games. They tried to mount a comeback. Like this was the first time that the comeback just succeeded.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, like you're hit the nail on the head there. I've talked about how this the team crash and burn and remind us what they actually were, but this team is still miles better than the team last year, because the team last year was just absolutely god awful. This one's like, okay, yeah, they're bad, but we actually a lot of noticing more competitiveness and more growth over time. And I think that is the most important part. we want to be able to see that of a rebuilding team that's building year over year, time over time.
Yeah. And you also want to have like a good culture too, especially
Hmm.
during the down years. You want players to feel like they are constantly playing for something to improve, to be better year over year. And we are seeing some pretty significant improvement. Also, just want to throw it out to like Nick Bugstad, who is like really come on strong. I don't know what happened when his dad showed up for the dad's trip, but since then he's just been on fire.
He's been fantastic, and he's been an absolute bright spot for the Coyotes.
Yeah.
And I think we talk about the way bright spots even last year, right? We looked at Shane Gottspear, and we were like, oh, whoa, where did he come from? Nick
Yep.
Bugstad is like that player this time. Kind of a player that was written off for a while. I was like, he can come in, we'll see what he can do, and he plays better than anyone expects.
He is making less than $1 million this season. He has 11 goals and 9 assists, which is really good numbers for that. Like that is significant bang for your buck. I do kind of wonder what the Coyotes' plans for him are.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it will be interesting to see what they plan for him. Whether his play well is maybe can be used as trade bait to just acquire more assets, or to use him for the rebuild, kind of like and then different and the other way, and like, hey, you know what, we can use you as a piece in our team, and kind of see how you can help us grow up a team.
Yeah, like hey, you had a good year. You're a veteran. You could be that guy in the room. Like, let's see if we can bring you in. I think it all kind of depends on what he wants to do, if he wants to resign, what he's looking for in terms of like contract. But I think if they can make it work, like I think he is an important piece. We're coming up on the point in the rebuild where you kind of want to have a guy like Bugstad. Like this isn't the first year, this is the second going into the third.
Absolutely, and I'm gonna, we're gonna get to the game in a little bit, after a break. But I do want to say this real quick. Kind of could be a similar situation, maybe if the plan of Buke said, maybe a similar thing like with Shane got the spear that could happen is getting traded away for assets, but maybe these two players want to return to Arizona because they know how comfortable they are with that team. So after that contract or whatever is over with the team they're traded to, they come back to Arizona and sign a deal. That wouldn't be a completely unheard of thing. Like that's
Yeah,
happened before.
it happened with Anton Vermette. Like
Exactly.
he traded to Chicago, won the cup, came back as a free agent.
Yeah, and I think that would be a huge sign of the culture movement, as you kind of talked about. In having and building that culture for the team, for the Coyotes.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely could. I don't know if the team should risk that necessarily because, like, I think Wedgwood would have been a nice player to like sign back after being traded and didn't happen. Although, must say, Connor Ingram played great.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely, like I think you have to trust Bill Armstrong in knowing you know, what exactly the player likes and what their desire is, because I think that really kind of gives you will give you an idea.
Yeah. Like they're having the conversations with the player, with the agent. I'm sure he is very much like aware of where everyone's kind of at in terms of, where they see themselves next season.
Absolutely, we're gonna get to the game breakdown a little bit more in just a second, but first we're gonna take a quick break for a word from our sponsors.
Today's episode brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting information, stats, news, and analysis. You can get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there. from pro football to college bowl season to basketball and hockey. They've got it all at betonline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, you can find those on BetOnline as well. The fastest and easiest way to get all your betting information, head over to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts.
So let's get into the the game because it was an interesting one. So a 4-3 win in the shootout over the Detroit Red Wings. We can start off by talking about first star because you mentioned it. You mentioned him and Nick Bukestad because I mean, hey, that was a well-deserved first star
Yeah,
because not only did he get the first goal for the Coyotes, but he also got the game-winning shootout goal.
yeah, yeah. Definitely has been a great player, really good 5-on-5. Took a few too many penalties tonight for my liking, but what are you gonna do? He did everything else to give the Coyotes the win.
Yeah, I think that's um, there are a lot of things a lot of players can do, and penalties. It's something that the Coyotes have been doing as a whole, right? We've been talking about
Yeah,
this all season long. They just take too many gosh darn penalties, and you're just like, what are you guys doing? You're just giving too many opportunities to the other team. It then happens, but I think Bukestad made up for it by helping get the win.
yeah, absolutely. Like there are a lot of different ways you can lead in hockey. And my favorite way that you can lead is if you score goals or if you like get assists on goals, like
hmm
generating the offense. Like leading by offense is a great way. And to me, like Nick Bukestad is that. Like especially his play 5-on-5. It is just phenomenal.
Yeah. Another thing that I want to, touch on because I found it a really interesting, like series of events is that third period, Carl,
Yeah.
because the Red Wings had gotten uh I believe what was it 2 goals in like less than a minute, and the Coyotes got 2 goals two back in 70 seconds. Like it's like what, and if you look at it, what is that entire time frame? What is 4 goals in a span of 3 minutes?
Yeah. I mean, let's be real. If there was a team that would give up 2 goals like in a minute, it's the Coyotes. They are very much like that soft on the the next play after giving up a goal. I'm just glad that they were able to take advantage and like kind of flip the script on the Red Wings. Like you don't see that every day.
And let me add another aspect to this, Carl. What does it say about the Detroit Red Wings? The fact that the Coyotes had gotten 3 regulation goals on 23 shots, or less, about 20ish shots, or something like that.
Oh, it doesn't say much. I think it was like those were like 3 goals in the first 15 shots. You're like,
Yeah,
that's not great.
that I mean, like that says definitely something about the Detroit Red Wings. It's just like, ooh,
Yeah. I saw an interesting stat. Dylan Gunther's goal was his first 5-on-5 goal at any level. So this season.
nice. That's a good one. Gunther's goal was pretty, like when anytime Gunther does something, it makes me happy that he's been doing well with the Coyotes. That the Coyotes were made that decision to take a risk to burn that burn that contract. He's like, you know what? Like, we think you belong up here. You're definitely too good for the for the WHL. So, I mean,
Yeah.
there's no purpose in sending you back. But I still find it funny that you and I were kind of still hesitant on that. We're just like, let's not take. It's a cut. It's a tanking year. Let's not. Um, but I think it was a pretty good decision.
Yeah, definitely. And I will say this: one of the things that we were concerned about when like discussing Gunther was how is he going to play like as the season goes on? Because not really used to that level of play.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is he going to be, you know, good in the first 14 games and then slowly trail off? And the opposite is true. He is like
He's gotten better.
excelling. Yeah. Like I think the World Juniors definitely helped, like boosted his confidence, and he has come back. He's looked really solid. And I hope he just continues to improve.
And I think he will. I think he's definitely going to have a lot more opportunities to continue to improve, and I think that does say something about the Coyotes development staff, as you and I have talked about multiple times over the last couple years.
Yeah. Like drafting players is definitely very important. We have seen that in the past. The Coyotes have definitely messed up drafting, but if you can get a good prospect development system in there, that is also extremely important. Um, and it looks like Gunther is ready after just a year. Who would have thought?
I know, and it just makes me, personally excited for the future of this team, because if Gunther's ready this early, imagine what the rest of the team is going to look like, right? Because
Yeah.
we don't know exactly when Logan Cooley is going to show up, but I'm pretty sure he's not too far from. Um, and you have other prospects out there who are getting ready to, going to soon make that jump, and it's like what 2-3 years from now, this Coyotes team is going to be pretty fun to watch.
Yeah. Like I think what since we're talking about the beginning of the season predictions, I think we thought Cooley maybe 2 years. That was before he had like one of the best World Juniors performances, uh, which definitely maybe moves up that timeline. Maybe he is ready next season. And he's not maybe top line guy. Protect him a little bit, get him used to the pace, but 2-3 years from now, producing at the NHL level, that's not out of the cards right now.
I think for his jump, he will easily be a middle six guy to start off with. Like,
Yeah,
but with
yeah,
that ceiling of definitely a top line center. Like,
yeah. Yeah, it's definitely one of those like, hey, give him the easy assignments for a while. See how I can do with that. And then gotta imagine he's going to be doing some big stuff. Like just him in the faceoff circle. You want to have that
oh yeah,
in the key moments of the game.
oh, 100%. Um, and how when was the last time the Coyotes had like a true like face off like king, like someone who can really master the face off?
Um, I have liked what Barrett Hayton has been this season. I think the best one would maybe be like Boyd Gordon was definitely a face-off specialist kind of guy. But he didn't have that kind of elite talent with the Coyotes that Cooley would bring. Like that kind of combination is what really excites me.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be the fun part. Any other bits of this game that you want to bring up that stood out to you?
I mean, we gotta talk about Lawson Cross, right? It was a 3 assist night for him.
100%.
Two primary assists. Like Kraus has been just phenomenal lately. Like definitely one of the Coyotes' best players.
Oh yeah, and think about this. Like, you look at the last year of Kraus under Tocchet, and we talked about it. The snake bitten that he was, and kind of just wasn't able to do as well. I mean, he was a little bit better on assists, but he didn't get the goals. Last year he kind of had an injury bug that kind of let him sideline for a good chunk of the season. He's pretty healthy this year and has excelled in a lot of different things. And this is right after that arbitration scare, and you just like he's making he's making himself look good. That he was worth the contract he was signed to, and that's what I love to see. Right? You hate to see those players that get a big contract and then get a little complacent. There are players that do that. Hate hate to say it, but there are players that do that. Krause is the complete opposite of that. He's making himself prove that he was worth that contract.
Yeah. I mean, Kraus had a career season last year, and it was a contract year. And you're always kind of wondering, like, players play up in the contract year. Like, everyone would do that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you all kind of want to make sure that you're doing your best before you're about to be evaluated because you know it's going to, give you money. And like it's great that that is like just not him playing up. That is him being like, no, this is my new level, and he is on pace to exceed that. He is on pace to have his best NHL season.
Oh, absolutely, and it's great to see. I love like especially because we know that Kraus is a core member of this Coyotes franchise. Like
Yeah,
if you look at like Kraus and Keller, Gunther, of course, is going to be that soon to be a true member of that core. Like you see, like he's like, okay, yeah, this guy is a cornerstone piece, and a few years from now, he's still going to be that kind of guy, and I love it.
yeah, and it's also good. Like I think it's generally accepted that Bill Armstrong likes players like Lawson Krause. Like I think he like best case scenario, Connor Geeky is like a Kraus 2.0 with maybe a little bit more offense and a little bit more size. Like that is what I think the team is going to be, you know, structurally moving forward. Um, and that's a good blueprint to have, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like that's definitely a good blueprint to have. Um, and some people might say it's like, oh come on, the physicality. Like we're not going to move. Like why have the big physical men? But like power having a big size power forward out there. I mean, if it's a recipe for success and if it works, like for this team, then like, you know what? Let's like it works. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. And I mean, you're also going to have like Keller and Cooley out there. So you do have like the smaller skill guys. Um,
Get a healthy
I
mix, and
do.
I think that's important.
Yeah, I hope there is a good mix because I do think it does need to be a mix, but I think like Kraus as a player also provides like a fair amount of skill as a physical player, and
100%.
if like that's where he's aiming for not just physicality but skill and the physicality, like even like on the third line and the fourth line, like I would love to have the Coyotes run like four good lines, like four lines where you could actually count on offense. And if like Kraus is what that prototype is, because I do kind of, do you see Lawson Kraus as being a second line player like a couple years from now, or is he going to be just like anchoring the team from the third line?
I could definitely see him as a second line player. I do have to we do have to understand where everybody else is.
Yeah,
Because we talk about those prospects that are coming in, and those prospects are pretty high level prospects. We're going to see exactly you know the exact role, the more fit role that Gunther's going to have, next season. We'll see where Logan Cooley is going to fit 2 years from now, where Connor Geeky is going to fit in a few years from now. Like
where
it's
Dylan Gunther and Barrett Hayton are going to fit 2 years from now.
exactly. It is like everyone coming in that way. It's just like okay, like it might be hard to get Kraus up to a second, into a solid second line, but it also will tell you something like, hey, you know what? To have this guy in the third line, like that's dangerous.
Yeah, that is a deep team in a way that I don't think the Coyotes have ever been.
Absolutely. Well, we're gonna go finish our thoughts and take a look quick at the look ahead for the Arizona Coyotes. We're gonna do that real quick, but first a quick word from the sponsors on our show. And let's come back and let's talk about the road ahead for the Arizona Coyotes. They got a couple of the games this week. They got one more, another home game before a quick stop on the road. But you know, So let's take a look at how this goes. So they got the Capitals on Thursday. So that's going to be tomorrow when most of you guys are listening to this show. We'll have a full pregame, come that day. Then we have the Stars, in Dallas on Saturday, and before coming home to face the Golden Knights on Sunday. Um, what do you think about this road ahead? Like taking a quick look at the opponents. How ready do you think the Coyotes are based off? I mean, yeah, they just got off a 9-game losing streak and beat the Red Wings, which, let's be real, isn't a huge accomplishment.
No.
But but the Capitals, the Stars, and the Golden Knights, like those are some.
Yeah. The Red Wings, third from the bottom. Those are some of the top teams in the NHL. It's one of those situations where I've said a lot this season. It doesn't matter how prepared the Coyotes are. It depends how much the other team's gonna underestimate them, because you need a little bit of luck with those.
Oh, 100%. I will say though, I think it will be really cool to see, and I'm going to talk about it on the full pregame episode, but to see Alex Ovechkin come into the mullet, because look, at this point, everyone wants to watch Ovechkin play because they know what he's ready, what he's going to be ready for pretty soon. Like he's
Yeah.
been on a tear, and he was going for that record. So, like, if everyone can say they saw, Ovechkin in his last couple seasons before breaking Gretzky's record, like,
Plus, it's a reverse retro night, so that's always
mm,
fun.
oh yes, the reverse retros, gotta love it.
We're
Um,
gonna have an episode about the New Jerseys as soon as they officially drop, right? That's gonna be.
you're gonna make me do this. Okay, we'll do that when it comes. When it
Yeah,
comes.
we will. We definitely want it to be official. But yeah, speaking of jerseys,
Oh man, I hope I don't have to do that.
yep, we're doing it. We gotta do it. We have
Oh
to.
no, we 100% will, but I'm gonna be very upset. That's all I gotta say. That's all
I
I gotta
think
say.
everyone's very upset. But let's see what it officially looks like. Uh,
Yeah.
I did learn, like, this past off season, like the initial image of the reverse retros versus what they looked at like on a person, very different things.
Yeah.
And
When the reverse retros first got released, and we saw what the Coyotes one looked like, I was like, yeah, they look good. Not as good as the purple one, but they're all right. And then I saw them on the ice, and I'm like, holy crap,
yeah,
these are beautiful.
yeah, it's a very solid jersey. Like, there's definitely a difference between, like, a not great leak picture and an actual official, like, photograph. So, but yeah, yeah, we'll talk about it.
100%. But yeah, taking a look at that road ahead. Yeah, those three teams coming up, not going to be easy.
No.
So just prepare yourselves, Coyotes fans. You know, do whatever coping mechanisms you guys have. Um,
I just
if you have one, I know a lot of people don't, but it's okay. That's what we're here
the
for.
the weekend back to backs are just tough, because, like, it's like your entire weekend is potentially not good. That was last weekend, so
Especially um an away home back to back. You know, away in Dallas and then back home to face Vegas.
thankfully it's not too bad a plane, like, trip, but
Yeah,
still.
true. You know, it isn't like, going to, like, let's say from Carolina to here, like
Yeah.
that,
Or Boston.
or Boston. Yeah, like, I just had to pick any East Coast team really. Um, but yeah, it's still or actual like away versus or home away, however, whichever way you want to go, it does tax you and it is tiring.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, like any back to back is tiring, but there are certain ones that are just more so. And it'll be, you know, interesting to see how the Coyotes play it. Connor Ingram's been looking pretty good. I wonder if he gets the first start.
it might be worth it, especially um, you know, kind of give, Veggie a couple breaks every now and then. It's like, all right, like, give you an extra day of rest.
Yeah, yeah. Sit back, you know, get centered, watch the game, just kind of get ready because you're gonna be the guy, but take a break. There's a whole Hamilton song about that.
Absolutely. Any final thoughts you want to share before we close things off on today's episode?
Uh, yeah. It's nice to just have that relief. I'm sure the Coyotes are gonna lose again soon, but just that brief win, you gotta savor it sometimes.
Yeah, you always need a what I call a reset game, right?
Yeah.
They kind of just like get your mind clear, get things taken care of. So 100%. 100%. Well, that's going to be it for today's episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave a review, to like, comment, subscribe if you have yet to already. We're available everywhere you get your podcast, including on YouTube. Don't forget to interact with us on social media. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/lockedoncoyotes, and on Twitter at LO_Coyotes. I'm personally at Robyn_Leonio. Carl Pavlock is at Carl Pavlock FFH. Interact with us, ask a question you might have. We might answer right back, or on a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in today's episode. Hope you guys are staying safe out there. Hope you guys are staying healthy. And don't forget to howl on.